Welcome back, everybody. That was good. You used your hands.
Getting good.
You've heard the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, how would you know to fix it if you don't know if it's broke? That's a good question, right? Well, joining me today is Bob Turner. And the reason I opened that way is that he's the chair of the City Charter Review Commission. And their mission, should they choose to accept it, is to go out there, look at the form of government that we have here in Saratoga, make recommendations on how they might improve it. Now, in years past, I think this happens like once every decade, right,
Yep.
Bob? First, welcome back. Nice to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
You can tell that we want to talk about this subject. They've made slight recommendations, or made recommendations about how you might improve just parts or pieces of it. Well, thanks to Bob and this committee of 15 people, they've really delved into this topic, and what they're discovering is really, I think, it's profound, and I also think that it's going to be for the betterment of this city moving forward. Now, when you were last in, we had so much to talk about. We talked in two parts. I want to try to keep this in one part. When you left, there was a survey that you were going to do that we all thought was really important, which was, what do the city employees think about the form of government? You had a meeting last night. You talked about the findings. Tell us about it.
I think that we heard, so this is the first survey that's ever been done of City Hall employees, and they had very clear things to say. First and foremost was that 70% of them said that they felt that the commission form of government was wasteful with city tax dollars, and they didn't think it did a good job of stewarding it. 65 to 70% said that they felt that the commission form of government didn't lead to good management of the city.
Wow.
A significant portion also reported that if there was political conflict between two of the commissioners, which happens not infrequently, that frustration was taken out on the employees and really significantly affected their ability to do the job.
Got it. Now, I want to cycle back on something that maybe you're already saying to yourself. Two things are important to note about this. One is that, a lot of times when you field a survey like this, people feel it's their responsibility to tell you what's wrong. They don't automatically go to tell you what they think is right. They think their job is to tell you what's wrong. And the other thing is that you have to be very careful in a survey like this to make sure that it's anonymous, because people become afraid, right? They become afraid of their job. They become afraid of what other workers might think of them and stuff. And you're very right to approach this by making it anonymous, right? Really protecting the identity of anybody that chose to participate in this, and also did it in a multiple choice form of way, which would allow them to dial in anywhere they wanted from good to bad.
Yep.
I think that's very positive.
It was an internet survey. You could only take it once. We didn't ask any questions about which department you worked for, what your gender, what your age. So people felt fairly safe that they could not be tracked. You
know what? We should cycle back on something. What's being debated and decided upon, and what you will base your recommendation on, is there are three forms of government. And I want to go back over that. We covered that in the first interview, but I want to do it again. It's commission form of government, which is the current form of government. Every commission, we have a commission, the mayor's part of the commission, they all kind of have an equal vote. Then you move to the mayor-council form of government. Am I right to say that that's kind of the traditional president, cabinet?
Yep. President, Congress, or executive legislature. And it's just worth noting that the commission form of government is kind of an archaic, it's almost a dinosaur. Maybe 1% of local governments are governed this way. No one has adopted this, I think, since the 1940s. So it's a bit of a relic.
Got it. All right. So then we have that city council, the mayoral, but you also have the city manager form of government. And how does that work?
So what happens is you elect a city council and a mayor who in turn choose a professional city manager who's a trained expert who then has a year-to-year contract to, in essence, run the city and to do what the city council members tell them to do. Yes,
got it. Now, as part of your due diligence, you brought in the mayor from Ithaca, New York. Which form of government?
So he has the mayor-council form of government. He does, and he's a super impressive guy. He was elected as mayor when he was 24, youngest person, first African-American ever. Oh, wow. And he was saying because he's a full-time mayor, He gets paid $58,000 a year, and he has dinner once a month with all of the 10 city council members. And he really attributes that to really helping sort of minimize the partisan bickering and infighting, because he knows where they are and what their issues are.
Right, got it. Next steps for you, I'm sure we get through the holidays, right? So January is going to be a very busy month, because the next step is the committee is going to have to vote.
Yep.
Right, 15 members of this charter review commission are going to have to vote and then make a recommendation, draft that recommendation on which form of government you're recommending, then a referendum, and the public votes on it in April.
Yep.
It's going to be a very busy
It's
3-4 months, right?
Well, the last 6 months have been pretty busy as well. We've been meeting 2 to 3 times a week in January, but we voted 15-0 to draft a new charter, and
Wow.
in January our work is really going to get busy. We're going to have to really dig down. What do we want the city council to look like? What do we want to do with the city attorney? What do we do with county supervisors? It's tricky stuff. It's really important stuff, but it's the city's business, and we're honored to do it.
Well, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. In years past, when they did this review, I think they're mandated by the city charter to do this once every 10 years, that they have to, they take a month and they look at it and they make a review and tweak it a little bit and everything else. Well, Bob, as you may know or may not know, is a professor of political science at Skidmore. You've done one thorough job on this, I'm telling you.
Some people have said that maybe I'm taking it too academically, too slow, and I will plead guilty. And I felt the confirmation was when we said, do we feel like we have enough information? Everyone said, yeah, I feel like I really know how this form of government is working, what its strengths, what its weaknesses are, and I feel really good about going forward.
Well, you know what? You've done your homework. Let's face it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So you got to find out if it's broke, right? And I just want to cycle back 15-0. The committee has now voted to make a change. So it's going to be very exciting January, February, and March. Now, to keep you informed, we're going to have Bob back each month to talk about it, but we're also going to do a special edition, maybe a couple of special editions of Beyond the Headlines with Mike Lenz. Bob's going to come in, some members of the committee, and they're going to dig into this in more detail so that you have the right information when that referendum rolls around. You'll be armed and ready to vote, right?
Well, thank you so much for covering the issue. It's so important.
Oh, I totally agree with you, Bob. Thanks for coming in. Happy holidays to you.
And to you.
To see this interview again, you can head to our website, LukeTVOnline.com.